The mail-order bride never came, so the cowboy tracked the wagon wreckage and found her barely. Eli Dawson had never been a man who pinned his future on hopes or promises. Life on the frontier had taught him that the land gave nothing without a fight, and dreams blew away like dust if you didn't hold them tight. But on the morning the stagecoach was supposed to arrive, with the woman who had written him letters full of gentle optimism, he found himself pacing the wooden platform like a nervous schoolboy. Her name was Clara. Her letters were tucked inside his vest, worn soft from rereading. "Sir," the station master called to him as the sun dipped low, "that coach ain't comin'. Word is a supply wagon overturned near Split Tree Ridge earlier today. Might have scared off the stage crew or blocked the path." Eli felt something cold and unfamiliar coil in his chest. Fear, not for himself, but for the woman traveling alone through unforgiving country. A woman who had crossed states just for the chance at a different life. A chance with him. "She was supposed to be on that coach," Eli said, his voice rough. "Clara Marin. Small, quiet sort, from what I gather. Did anyone see her come through earlier?" The station master shook his head. "Not a soul by that name." Eli didn't wait for more. He mounted his horse, Midnight, and rode hard toward Split Tree Ridge with only a prayer and Clara's last letter pressed to his heart. The ridge was a graveyard of shadows when he arrived, jagged rocks, twisted trees, and a stillness that felt wrong. Then he saw it, a wagon splintered against a fallen tree, one wheel still turning lazily as if the world hadn't noticed the disaster. "Clara," he shouted into the wind. The silence that answered made his blood run cold. He searched the wreckage, tossing aside crates and debris, every heartbeat louder than the last. Then a faint sound. A whimper. A breath. He spun toward the sound and froze. There, half hidden under the wagon's collapsed frame, lay a woman pale, bruised, and barely conscious. Her bonnet was torn, her hair streaked with dirt and blood, but her face matched the photograph she'd sent him. "Clara," he whispered, dropping to his knees. Her eyelids fluttered. "Eli?" Her voice was thin, trembling. I tried to stay awake." He swallowed hard. "I've got you now. You're safe." He wasn't sure if that was true yet, but he sure as hell intended to make it true. Eli worked with the patience of a man possessed. Every plank he lifted felt like wrestling fear itself. When he finally freed her and gathered her into his arms, she let out a cry of pain he wished he could take for her. Her pulse was faint. She was freezing. Shock settling in like poison. "No time," he muttered to himself. "Hold on, Clara." He wrapped her in his coat, lifted her onto Midnight, and rode toward the nearest shelter, a trapper's abandoned cabin a mile off the ridge. Inside the cabin, Eli built a fire so fast he burned his knuckles, but he barely noticed. He heated water, tore strips from his own shirt for bandages, and checked her injuries with shaking hands. Her ankle was badly twisted. Her ribs were bruised. But she was alive. As he worked, Clara watched him through half-lidded eyes. "You came," she whispered. "Of course I did," he said, gently resting her head against his bedroll. "You expected me to be at that station, didn't you? Well, I'm expecting you to stay alive. Seems fair." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "I thought you might decide I wasn't worth the trouble," she murmured. Eli looked at her for a long moment. "You crossed half the country to meet a man you've never seen. That's brave. Braver than I've ever been. I'd ride farther than a mile of dirt and broken wood for someone like you." Something softened in her expression, something fragile, beautiful, human. A storm rolled in as the night deepened, drumming against the cabin roof with restless insistence. Clara drifted in and out of sleep, haunted by pain and memories she didn't voice. Eli kept the fire alive, kept her warm, kept whispering small reassurances even when she couldn't hear him. Near midnight, she stirred and whispered, "Eli. I'm sorry." He leaned close. "For what?" "For being more trouble than I meant to be," she said, tears collecting at the corners of her eyes. "I didn't want to arrive broken." Eli felt something tighten in his chest, something deeper than anger or fear, something like sorrow. Clara, he said gently, nobody arrives in this world unbroken.
Not me. Not you. Not anyone.
He brushed a strand of hair from her face. But we get to help each other put the pieces back together.
That's what kindness is. That's what being human is. Her breath caught.
A tear slid down her cheek. No one's ever spoken to me like that, she whispered. Eli didn't know how to tell her no one had ever made him feel so fiercely protective, so unexpectedly hopeful. So he simply squeezed her hand and kept the fire burning. When morning came, Clara looked a shade stronger.
Enough to sit up.
Enough to truly see him.
You stayed all night?
She asked softly. I'll stay as long as it takes, he said. Her eyes glistened, not with fear this time, but with something warmer. Why? She breathed. He hesitated, then told her the truth.
Because someone ought to choose you. Not out of duty. Not because of letters.
Because you're worth choosing.
And I'm grateful it gets to be me.
She covered her mouth, overwhelmed. Then she reached for his hand and held it, firm, steady, unmistakably alive. They returned to Sagebrush Pass 2 days later. Folks helped them, offering blankets, hot stew, a doctor who fussed but smiled knowingly when he saw Eli's protective stance beside her. Clara healed slowly, but each day brought small victories.
Standing, walking, laughing at something Eli said without meaning to be funny.
And one evening, as the sun dipped low behind the hills, she turned to him with a quiet, steady resolve. The wreck, the pain, all of it frightened me, she said. But if it hadn't happened, I might never have known who you truly are.
Eli felt his throat tighten.
And who is that? He asked. A man who rides toward trouble when others would turn away, she said. A man whose kindness feels like shelter.
Like home. He swallowed, overwhelmed. Clara. I'd do it all again. Every mile. Every minute.
She smiled, the first full, unguarded smile he'd ever seen from her. Then maybe, she said softly, this is where my life truly begins.
And so it did. Because sometimes love doesn't arrive on schedule. Sometimes it's found in the wreckage of what could have been tragedy.
Sometimes it's discovered in the hands of someone who refuses to leave.
Kindness, after all, isn't just a word, it's a force strong enough to change the ending.
And for Eli and Clara, it became the beginning of something whole, hopeful, and beautifully human.